Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation? Welcome back. We're listening to the Two Doom Men podcast, and as always, it's Skaggs and the Captain as your host. And we got a hell of an episode today. What's going on, Skaggs? You want to tell them what we're talking about?
Yes, sir. We are chilling. We're back on a Wednesday night.
A little later in the week for us, but it's all right.
It's all right. No, me and the Captain are a little bit busy lately. We haven't had a chance to do the House of the Dragon reviews. The episodes have been
even remember that. Yeah,
that's all right. It's the episodes have been pretty good. We'll probably get back to that towards the end of the season. Maybe do a full season review, and we'll get back to our House of the Dragon stuff.
We will be having a heated She-Hulk review. This is going to be like on your left, and Captain America standing there with Mjolnir, and fucking Falcon coming out, going head to head with Thanos and his army.
Yeah, just to add a little bit more context, what the Captain's talking about, we have not reviewed She-Hulk. We are going to review all of season 1, and we hate it. And two of our friends really like it, so we've decided to invite them on to debate us about why they liked She-Hulk season 1. So it's going to be interesting. We'll be doing that at the end of this week after the final episode comes out. So stay tuned for that. I thought first maybe we'd start with also like a little bit of mourning here. It was a big devastating loss this week for the podcast. And that's because I got blocked by Occupy Democrats. And we'll kind of start off here with, I guess, our first tweet of the week. Occupy Democrats has provided Two Doom Men podcast with a lot of material.
The good thing, though, is the podcast page hasn't been blocked, just your page.
Yeah, just my page. But that's where I operate on Twitter. That's where I get most of the stuff. So they tweeted the other day, it was Columbus Day this past Monday. Occupy Democrats tweeted, "Let's celebrate Columbus Day by walking into someone's house and telling them that we live there now and banishing them to the middle of nowhere, or else RT if you'll celebrate National Indigenous Peoples Day instead." To which I responded, "So you are pro private property rights now?" And of all things, I mean, I've been going after them for a long time, especially since we started doing the show. Of all things, they banned me for like private property rights. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got to say, being, a Padawan in the Twitter wars, my first Indigenous People Day was quite an interest because, boy, it like the bots fall in line, like Herschel Walker, blah, 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 blah. Happy Indigenous People Day, blah, 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 blah. It's hysterical. And the funny thing now is like the left is just beginning to attempt to like meme and like hashtag back at people. And like the best they could come up with is like calling like conservative snowflakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not good at memeing. They're so bad at memeing the left, right? That there are great meme pages called The Left Can't Meme. And the memes about the left not memeing are way more funny than the memes the left actually make.
I mean, dude, Young Turks guy was saying something about how somebody will talk about Lady Tulsi Gabbard, I think was on Joe Rogan, and they were able to talk about what they want. And they were like, see, you got your freedom of speech, but it doesn't mean we can't, rebuttal or say anything back. Hashtag snowflakes. Okay. I mean, boy, what a grift you got there, buddy. Woo, you really stuck it to us.
Oh yeah, people like that are really just grifting. Like they don't have, at least I really don't believe like people like Cenk or Joe from Jers. Like there's all these Brooklyn Dad. They're not like authentic. Like their opinions are not authentic. They're kind of just like playing a role. We've talked about it a lot of time. Occupy Democrats is like that.
Brooklyn Dad had said, I guess Joe Biden announced on TV that he loves his son Hunter Biden. And the tweet was something along the lines of like, I bet when Don Jr. heard Joe Biden loves his son, he really felt that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. I'm sure Trump wasn't a great father, but having a billionaire compared to an old man who sniffs children.
Well, yeah, the thing is with like a Brooklyn Dad and that sort of tweet, the NPCs are like, like clapping in the background.
And it's funny too, because I've also noticed like we always mention like when we hit like a low hanging fruit item,
pick up
on the show.
Yeah.
Like all the NPCs do is just go after the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean we pick them too. I think there's value in picking the low.
There
fruit,
is,
but
because
I
it's
guess
the
they are
easiest.
the fruit though. They don't pick
Yeah.
anything. They just are the low hanging fruit. I kind of wanted to mention real quick a thought I had the other day when me and you were kind of talking about Columbus Day. You know, and this is your first, I guess, foray into Twitter on a Columbus Day. It's always a shit show on Columbus Day with the woke people and whatnot. But I don't know if many people realize that Washington, D.C. is theoretically named after Christopher Columbus as well. The District of Columbia means Christopher. It's named after Christopher Columbus.
And
I don't see these shit lib leftists like saying, "Hey, we should change, District of Columbia's name."
Be careful because it'd be the District of Obama by this time next year.
But I think we should change the name of Washington D.C. to something else, or not Washington, but maybe District of Columbia.
What really drives me nuts is the changing of the sports team names. If like Indigenous People Day is truly so important, and I get Redskins was a pretty on the nose one, but like
term,
right? But like the Braves and the Chiefs,
yeah.
What are we doing here? What are we worried? If Indigenous People Day is so important, what are we really getting at by going after the Braves?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know, man. I don't know how racism hasn't been fixed yet, especially after it's been in the end zone of the NFL for the past like 10 seasons. It says end racism. I'm not sure like what's taking so
Maybe
long,
there's
honestly.
just no end. I don't know.
I don't know. There might not be. It's in perpetuity, right? I guess so.
It'd be like if Sanders was able to get us Medicare for all, he'd have nothing else to run on.
True.
You know, so if we end racism, they'd, oh my God, what are we going to talk about?
Right. They lost their golden goose.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So we got a couple of things like serious topics that we will talk about. This just happened today. Alex Jones, his court case is now finished. We also had a really interesting kind of admission from a Pfizer board member. We'll probably start with that. Cap, you got a lot of topics today. Talk about the Russia and the nuclear war that, some comments made there. You got a couple things about election deniers, midterm.
Yes, a little bit of things that I'm seeing develop in the media.
Tulsi Gabbard leaving the Democratic Party. And then you got Trump and Saudi conspiracy. So we got a lot on the docket.
I got a conspiracy theory that's got Trump wrap up in it.
Oh boy, that's interesting. So okay, I see. So a Trump conspiracy theory, like an anti-Trump conspiracy sort.
I think he's guilty.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. That's the last on the list. But let's start here. I'm gonna play this video for you guys. Make sure we share the sound.
Is this what we had this morning?
Perhaps. Yes.
Everybody needs to listen to this.
So this is Rob Roos. If you're not familiar with who Rob Roos is, I believe he is a Danish politician, like from Denmark, I think. I could be wrong, but he actually is in like the European Union Parliament. So he's like a sitting member of the European Union Congress. Let's just put it that way. And they had a board member, I think, from Pfizer there testifying in front of them. And this is one of the most like revealing videos you're going to see about the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Again, I'm just going to say this. Me and Captain, we are not doctors. Don't take any medical advice from us. I don't know what the rules are on YouTube anymore. They have changed them a couple, but, don't listen to me and Captain. We're just kind of speculating here, and we're playing videos of other people talking. So this is Rob Roos, and this is what he had to say.
If you don't get vaccinated, you're antisocial. This is what the Dutch Prime Minister and Health Minister told us. You don't get vaccinated just for yourself, but also for others. You do it for all of society. That's what I said. Today, this turned out to be complete nonsense. In a COVID hearing in the European Parliament, one of the Pfizer directors just admitted to me, at the time of introduction, the vaccine had never been tested on stopping the transmission of the virus. This removes the entire legal basis for the COVID passport. The COVID passport that led to massive institutional discrimination as people lost access to essential parts of society. I find this to be shocking, even criminal. Please watch the video until the end.
Voor u, mevrouw Small, heb ik de volgende vraag waar ik een duidelijk antwoord op wil. And I will speak in English so there are no misunderstandings. Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? If not, please say it clearly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? And I really want a straight answer, yes or no, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping immunisation before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what is taking place in the market.
This is scandalous. Millions of people worldwide felt forced to get vaccinated because of the myth that you do it for others. Now this turned out to be a cheap lie. This should be exposed. Please share this video.
All right. So let's get rid of the first criticisms here right off the bat. I know the first criticisms are going to be, oh, well, this is just the Pfizer vaccine only, not the Moderna, not the AstraZeneca, not the Johnson & Johnson. Yeah, all right. You're right. This is the Pfizer vaccine we're talking about specifically here. But I mean, what they are essentially admitting to is that they did not test this vaccine before it was released to everyone for being able to stop transmission of the virus. But then, and for anyone who questioned it at the time, questioned it, like us or like Alex Berenson or whoever, every other fucking podcast that got their shows banned or people who got their Twitter accounts banned, you got banned for saying, this doesn't seem to stop transmission. It was fact check as no, they're safe, they're tested, they do stop transmission. I remember President Biden said they do stop transmission of COVID-19. I remember getting into arguments with people I know saying these definitely do not stop the transmission. Like, why is everybody still getting COVID? Yeah, if that are vaccinated, if they stop transmission. The basis of the vaccine passports, not only they had some crazy shit going on in Europe in terms of vaccine passports, but over here as well, was that it will work because the vaccine stops transmission. So if everybody plays by the vaccine passport rules, you could go to a place where there'll be no transmission because everyone has the vaccine. But that was never tested and true, at least in the Pfizer, vaccine, which was one of the most, widely taken.
Well, Pfizer's the one that is taking all the money, putting it into advertising. This message is brought to you by Pfizer. This message is brought to you by Pfizer. Super Bowl ads, radio ads, TV ads, you name it, brought to you by Pfizer. Yeah. What got us banned on TikTok was a video compilation of how much advertising Pfizer has been doing because they wanted to be the #1 jabberino. Yeah. Now and look, think of what they did in Australia. Think of how insane things got in Australia with the vaccine passport. And this was all a lie, a farce. They didn't test it.
Yeah, at least they didn't know, right? Because they didn't do any testing, but they were out there claiming that it did stop transmission. Now, again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if all these months, like what now? It's about almost 2 years later since the vaccine's been out. I really don't know if there's any statistical proof that maybe it does stop transmission to some sort of percentage or not. I really don't know, right? But neither did they at the very beginning because they never tested that in any sort of trial or capacity. But they were out there saying that it did. They still were out there saying that it did. So that's the point I'm trying to make here.
This is why it was so important for manufacturing companies to be able to get away scot-free. This is why all those
could
companies
be done now, really. We could just sit here and bitch about it.
You couldn't sue them. They had no liability. And remember when the vaccine was first coming out, they were like, oh, can we see the little paper of ingredients and stuff that comes with it? And they would unfold it, and it was just a big blank sheet of paper.
I think I remember some videos like that.
Yeah. I don't know how true they are, but I mean, this is 100% nefarious. If it's not nefarious, it's negligence. I mean, I'm happy to be pure blood. Me too.
We're gonna live.
Yeah, we literally saw an attempt at I won't say evil, but an evil takeover of the world. They wanted every single breathing person to get vaccinated. The FDA approved it for 5 to 12, then 5 to 2, then 6 months to 2 years. They pumped it full into children. They pumped it into pregnant women, all under the guise of this is going to stop transmission. And they had no
or prevent you from
idea.
dying and prevent you from getting sick.
Yes.
All things we know are not true.
And we'll tell you to get boosted. If the first one's not tested, how much testing are we doing on the boosters then?
Right.
And I like your little virtue signaling. We were only moving as fast as science.
As science, right? Like which science is the religion, right? So as fast as God could allow us to move at. Yeah, man. Again, I'm not a scientist. I don't know, right? I really don't. But just looking back, it's hysterical how people were not allowed to question any of this stuff. Yep. You mentioned before Australia, so I thought this would be actually a good time to lead into my first tweet of the week here. And this shit is still going on. This censoring, this. All this stuff, and this is my tweet, but it's not really my tweet. I'm just linking into it because this is interesting. But this is a tweet from Alex Berenson. If you're not familiar with Alex Berenson, he is a former New York Times journalist. He was kind of like one of the guys on the forefront of trying to cover the whole COVID vaccine and everything as fairly as possible. He was singled out by the Biden administration in documents that leaked when they were communicating with Twitter, like, hey, what are you guys doing about Berenson? He's on there spewing misinformation, blah, 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 blah. Twitter banned Alex Berenson, and then he sued Twitter. He won the lawsuit, and he's back on Twitter now. Because they had to put him back on. So, for again, he's not a scientist either, but he's been pretty on the money in terms of like reporting on COVID. So this is a tweet he had earlier in the week where he says, these are Alex Berenson's words, not mine. He says, the mRNA COVID vaccines are killing people, plain and simple. Best guess, they lead to about a 10% rise in non-COVID mortality and no reduction in Omicron deaths. This is the Australian data. Very clean because Australia had no COVID before vaccines. Deaths are 17% above normal in 2022. So what's he talking about? Why is he saying that Australia had like no COVID before vaccines? Well, it's because if you remember the insane lockdowns in Australia, they were essentially isolated from the outside world. And
they
even
became
their
Nazis real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we did a whole episode on it, right? You remember, Cap, the guy riding around on the horse. People were protesting. They were even isolated within like their own little states, like what's called like Victoria and whatever, New South Wales. So they didn't really have any COVID. But now, you know, a year later, their excess deaths, which is something that's being mentioned a lot amongst people, are up 17%. And a lot of people are saying, you know, a lot of the pro-regime, I guess you'd call them, people are saying, well, the excess deaths are because of like long COVID and, you know, people dying of COVID. That's why like more people are dying than normal. But how do you explain that in Australia, who they theoretically are not, they can't have long COVID because they didn't have any COVID early on. So what can you really explain to that? Again, I don't really know. This is somewhat of, I guess you could say he's speculating, Alex Berenson, but I just thought this was really interesting.
Also in the past
case study.
Yeah, also in the past week or two, the Florida Surgeon General did a study on mRNA vaccines and how they link to all these heart condition problems. And he's trying to blow the whistle on these vaccines are potentially causing serious heart conditions that can lead to death.
All I'm going to say is I think people should just look into this stuff themselves, right? And
you know,
don't forget what they tried to again, and also we're going into midterms soon, right? Next month.
Yeah.
Don't forget what they tried to do, right? They tried to force all of us to take this stuff.
Yeah.
Under threat of you're gonna lose your job if you don't do it. You're gonna be locked out from society. You can't see people, you know, and you can't go to restaurants, this, that, whatever. Don't forget that, right? This is all on shoddy, you know, studies and information that they had. One last point real quick, Cap, I want to make out. If you look at the tweet, which I haven't taken off the screen yet, look at the bottom. It says misleading. Why, you know, there's a fact check, misleading. Learn why health officials consider COVID-19 vaccines safe for most people. And they really went like above and beyond on this specific tweet. You can't reply and you can't share it or like it. The only thing you could do is quote tweet it, which is like what I did. That's how I shared and then I screenshotted it myself. So this again, like they're going after Berenson again. They didn't learn their lesson.
You know, for the people who listen to this show, I mean, it's second nature. They know. I really wish there was this broader audience that we could reach out to. Why would there be this type of information? Why would Pfizer executives be admitting this? And then on top of it, why would Twitter not allow you to comment, like, or share this specific tweet? What are you trying to prevent?
Well,
Yeah,
I think I have a question, answers to your questions that you just provided, like at least my
Go for it.
speculation. So I think, why are they commenting and saying these things now? I think it's because a lot of time has passed, and
Oh, and they
have kind of-
forgot. People are forgetting.
People are forgetting what they tried to do, which I
Yeah.
just said, right, was make you lose your job because you didn't want to, follow orders. Like you didn't want to take an injection into your body, like they against your will.
Yeah.
So I think that's why people, it just, it's becoming more normalized now. Whatever, we could kind of say,
Oh,
the truth,
every
'cause
day,
people don't care
every
how
day in the news.
cycles move
Every
on.
day in the news, when they talk about, vaccines or COVID or anything, they start off with the new normal, the new normal, the new normal.
Why are they fact checking and now suppressing this Alex Berenson tweet? Because this is now like new information that Alex
Yeah.
Berenson's putting out about a different thing, which is excess deaths and what could possibly be behind the reason behind there being excess deaths, which are, I guess he's trying to make the insinuation that it could be because of the vaccine. That's something new. That hasn't really been covered much up to now. So now, of course, like the new information, we gotta,
Censor it.
we got to, or at least we got to throw a fact check or a disclaimer up on there. So remember, it's 2022. So now remember, on a Two Doom Men podcast episode in 2024, we're going to go back and we're going to go and look, or maybe something else will come out, and again, this is speculation, YouTube. Maybe there'll be another article, or there'll be another hearing or testimony about, you knew the COVID vaccine was causing excess deaths. Maybe this guy Ruse again will be questioning whoever, and it'll come out there later. So we'll check in 2 years and see. And you'll have forgotten. Most people have forgotten by then, or they'll be dead already, right, because of excess deaths. So it won't even matter at that point. But that's a little interesting test, maybe, Cap.
Yeah, well, we stood up to tyranny. I gotta say, not getting vaccinated, and it's fine if you did, and it's fine if you still want to go. But man, there's a select few of us that said no to this. Could you imagine what world we'd be in if everyone did comply and just we went along with vaccine passports? I mean, it'd be breadlines and just a mess.
What's up, everyone? It's Skaggs, and I'm here to tell you about a new partner of ours, the Patriot Cigar Company. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to casually enjoy a good cigar with a nice glass of bourbon, especially during the fall months. The Patriot Cigar Company just launched their first 5 cigars, including the Hellfire, TNT, Mark 48, and Moab. Each cigar is handmade with premium tobacco that is aged a minimum of 3 years in Nicaragua. The best part about it is that you can go to mypatriotcigars.com and use our promo code DOOMED for 15% off your purchase. So if you're ready to sit back and enjoy a nice cigar around the campfire, head on over to their website and see what they have to offer using the link in our episode description below.
We have a liftoff.
I'm Googling it because now you sparked an interest in it. I wonder how many people got the COVID-19 vaccine in the world. Like the population of the world's almost like 8 billion.
Yeah.
Right. So it says here, at least Google, at least 1 dose. Wow. I don't know about that, man. I don't know. Google's saying. All right. So Google's saying, okay. So, wow, this is a huge portion of the population. Google's saying that 4.96 billion people are fully vaccinated in the world. Wow, that is. That's more than half of the population on planet Earth. I don't know about that. I thought it was more around like 2.
I think I'll take 4.6 billion people got at least 1 dose of the vaccine.
Yeah,
because now remember the definition for fully vaccinated changes every time Pfizer wants to sell a new booster shot. So I don't think 4.69 billion people have two vaccines with, what are we up to? 4 boosters now?
5, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so 5. So we're up to what, 6 shots altogether?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I'm not.
Maybe even 7, honestly.
I'm gonna say
5 plus 2 is 7. If there's 5 boosters,
there's no way 4 billion people on this planet are fully
7 deep.
vaccinated and boosted.
Yeah.
I think then I'll take that number as at least 1 dose.
Maybe. I mean, it's just interesting. It's interesting, little thing to look into. So, what do you want to talk about next, Cap? You want to dig into real quick, maybe Alex Jones or one of your topics?
Let's go into Alex Jones. I didn't really follow this story.
Sure.
I know of the guy. I never followed him too much, even though we're on podcasts and shit. I know he's a crazy loon. He's right up my alley, but he took a butt eating today.
There's not much to really dive into. I just kind of want to tell everybody what happened and why maybe it's interesting. So he was in court here in Connecticut, where I'm at, not far from even where I'm at, where I live. Which is not far from Sandy Hook, where the shooting happened. But he was in court because of his behavior, I guess you could say, after the Sandy Hook shooting, like a long time ago now, almost like 10 years ago. And it was like a defamation case where like the families and someone else were suing him for defamation. And boy, the Alex Jones was right tip jar is going to have to be cashed out now.
Yeah.
Because the jury has now basically decided on a settlement to the families and whatnot in tunes of like $960 million, almost $1 billion. Alex Jones is going to have to pay out now, to the families and whatnot. I mean, Alex Jones obviously does not have $1 billion.
No,
he's probably got a decent amount of money, but nowhere near that. So it's not even possible that he can pay that out. I do think what Alex Jones did and said after Sandy Hook was absolutely insane. Some of the things he I'm not even going to rehash them, but they were pretty insane and just just wildly out there. But right, we do a podcast and we say pretty crazy things sometimes too. We never say anything crazy as what Alex Jones said after Sandy Hook, but I don't know, you're in America and you have freedom of speech. What's interesting about this case is that the judge laid a default judgment. So he was just guilty. He didn't this isn't like, here are the facts. Here's what Alex said. Here's what the families say. And now we go up to the jury. The jury gets to decide whether or not he's guilty or not. No. Alex Jones was just guilty by default, which is like something that almost never happens ever.
That's why
in courts.
That's why, it's a $900 million, settlement. He's just being made an example of, here is somebody who just laid down, shat on the establishment and everything they tried to hide for how many years. And they finally got him on one thing. And now, I mean, if they could give him the death sentence, they would.
They probably would, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that the jury in this case actually had to do was determine the amount that he had to pay out. So that's why there even was a jury in this, which they've determined he's got to pay out $1 billion. I don't know how they came up with that or whatnot. Why this is crazy is because this sets a precedent now, right? That you can't, if you're a journalist or whatever, and you say something crazy, that you could get sued to this extent. But I want to just say now, let's look on the silver lining of this, right? What does this mean? Like I just said, now you could sue people for defamation. I didn't get paid out $1 billion. So now I'm going to encourage, now that this precedent has been set, I think it's time that Kyle Rittenhouse goes and sues all the major corporate press, President Joe Biden. And I say that Kyle Rittenhouse should sue them for $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Because why? Because they defamed him and said that he shot black people, that he was out there just murdering people for no reason.
White supremacists.
So I think now that's the only logical thing that should occur, right?
Well,
so that's the precedent been set.
Trump has issued a $450 million lawsuit, defamation lawsuit against CNN. Yeah, he's not a Russian asset. They proved it, but CNN would have you believe it.
Right. So I'm all for it now. Go ahead, start suing them all.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be rough when they start learning. It's a two-way street.
You see, the thing is here, Cap, they're not. That's not going to happen. Kyle Rittenhouse is not going to get awarded $1 trillion suit for suing CNN and President Biden. Donald Trump's not going to win that lawsuit. None of that's going to happen. Why? Because they don't hold the correct opinions. They weren't. No,
I think
what happened was
they will.
You think so? You think? And what?
I don't think they're getting.
I'm not saying they're not
going
to try, but there's no way they're going to win out.
Well, what's the kid? Nick
Sandman.
Sandman walked away with $500 million from his lawsuits. Okay, so And Kyle Rittenhouse has already begun the process of suing these networks for being liable. So in some of these cases, maybe not Trump because it's Trump, but much lower level people, Twitter people, Kyle Rittenhouses of the world, I think they'll win.
We'll see. That'll be another interesting thing to keep an eye on, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think they should now. Let's see how like court plays out in terms of like, is there gonna be like an ideological lean to who gets to win these cases or who doesn't? I don't agree with them at all. I think you should be able to say whatever you want, but as long as you're not like threatening people with like literal violence or doxing people or anything like that. If you want to say crazy shit, fine, whatever. So I just don't like where this goes down. Like, who's going to get to determine what's a crazy fucking thing to say in the future? So now, like what we just said about the vaccine, are we going to get sued for $1 trillion because we said something that someone else thinks is so insane?
Well, it's possible now. So
see what I'm saying? Right. Yeah. Like that's the rabbit hole that this goes down.
No, don't disagree. It's slippery slope. I don't know. I think justice will prevail a little bit on here, just because I'm going off of Nick Sandman, man.
That's a good point.
Yeah. He made out like a bandit. So
yeah, he did. All right, let's go on to one of your topics, man. You got a lot of interesting stuff here, which I'm interested to.
What do you want to?
You choose, man. You Captain came up with the topics this week. So
yes, sir. All right. So you want to? We could do the conspiracy, or we could do nuclear war, or you know what? You didn't hear too much about the election deniers.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're even talking about. So
okay. So there's been in the media, and I've seen it on social media and stuff. The mainstream media has coined a new term, election deniers. These are people who don't believe the 2020 election was legitimate. These are politicians, obviously Republican politicians, who don't believe the 2020 election was legitimate. Now, YouTube, we are not talking about the legitimacy of the 2020 election. We are talking about how there are other people who have said opinion.
We're commenting on their opinions.
Yeah,
correct.
Exactly. So I've been seeing a lot of this and these headlines of, oh, there's 26 Republican election deniers on this year's midterm ballots. How do we combat this? How do we solve this? And it's so interesting to me that, like, we couldn't talk about the legitimacy of the election. It was the most safe and secure election ever. Meanwhile, the guy from the CEO of one of the voting programs was just arrested for sending information, electoral information to China. He's arrested because he's found guilty. That is election interference. This was the most safe and secure election there was. So now all of a sudden, why are we worried about election deniers? What do you have to worry? If this was the most secure election, why are you worried about people running on this platform? And what are we going to do at this point now either? Like, all of a sudden, like, we're going to vote in all these election deniers and we're going to redo the 2020 election? I don't see that happening.
I'm interested to see. Yeah, I agree. I'm interested to see where does that logic go, right? So they're saying, oh, there's all these election deniers. Like, what are we going to do about that? What are they trying to like insinuate that what?
Yeah.
We should like not allow them to run for office? And
exactly they're unfit for office. And then the second note underneath there was midterm election interference. There's already articles that I've been seeing popping up saying, oh, China and Russia could be interfering in our midterm elections. What's going to happen is I don't know, and I'm not going to put money on this red tsunami. I think there's going to be a lot of pain for the left come November 9th. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of trickery and a lot of bullshit going on. I don't think there's going to be this giant red tsunami, but there's going to be some places are going to clean house and go all red. And the left is going to cry bloody murder, election interference. These aren't legitimate elections. All of a sudden, the left is going to start losing seats and these elections. And they're the ones that it's going to become the topic. I'm going to pull out a receipt for any of these states that turn fully red. It's going to be the topic. election interference. All of a sudden, we just had the most safe and secure election ever, and now we had the most unsafe election ever.
If they lose ground, they'll start sounding like Trump.
Yes.
Just put it that way. I mean, they already kind of did, man. You don't remember in 2016, Hillary Clinton talking about how the Russians hacked the election?
I honestly think that was a drop in the bucket compared to what we're going to see in this November. Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor of Georgia, she for years has been saying that her election was rigged, that she lost the governorship of Georgia, that it was rigged. So again, yeah, you're right. And I don't get much into this. It's like no one believes anymore in the system. Everyone's going to say it's rigged. So it's just like, all right. I don't think the system is great to begin with. Now, coming from a libertarian anarchist, mindset, I kind of see the flaws in what democracy is. It's kind of like mob rule to an extent. So I guess I kind of do like that everybody doesn't really believe anymore. You might get the change you want
to some certain extent, right? It's a good thing that people are now like questioning the process, because the process, I think, fundamentally definitely is flawed.
Well, the only problem is they're only questioning the process out of fear that they are going to lose ground.
Right. But that's better than
not questioning
anything to some certain extent.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen in November. But the one thing I know you feel, from my point of view, Doom Nation, get out there and vote. Flood
I agree with
flood the voting booths this November. If you are, and I say this to both sides, if you really don't want Trump coming back, get out there and fucking vote. If you're tired of Lindsey Graham and you're tired of Ted Cruz and all this shit, and I don't even know if they're running for re-election, if you're get out there and vote. We need to flood the system. That's I really feel like if there is any rigging, if there is this conspiracy of these elections are not safe and secure, I think if people show up in numbers, it's going to be that much harder to falsify the outcome
in person. Like,
yes,
you got to go vote
in person. Which that's what scares the shit out of me, because going into the 2020 election, COVID was around for almost a year, or like 8 to 10 months already, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of saw early on, like, mail-in ballots, you got to stay home, it's not safe to go to the voting booth. We don't have that right now.
Right.
So it could lead
like
into
you could go to a Yankee game, right? And there's just everybody's there hanging out with no masks.
I mean, I was at the Renaissance Fair this weekend, and there was just a sea of people like shoulder to shoulder with each other. And, it scares me, because another topic we're going to talk about today is possible World War III and nuclear fallout from Russia. What is, and I'm not going to say the administration, but I'm going to say the establishment. What's the establishment going to pull out on like October 30th? You know what I'm saying? That's going to stop people from going to the polls. What's going to stop people, want people to vote by mail-in ballot or something? What's going to be the surprise to deter people from going out there in the huge numbers?
That's an interesting thing to keep an eye on, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't really like the idea of democracy anymore. My opinion on it has changed for different reasons than like a Trump or whatever, or the leftists would say, but one thing that really grinds my gears, and I've seen a lot lately on Twitter and just in general, is people being like, oh, vote harder, like cynically, like that's going to like they don't vote. And they're like laughing at people like, vote harder. Maybe that will fix things. I mean, I think that's such a stupid, flawed way to look at it. Like, if you look at, the numbers of who actually turns out to vote, it's like very little people actually go vote in terms of like the whole, like, so if we have like 350 million people, like 100 million people go vote. That means like 250 million, maybe 50 million are kids, right? So like 200 million people don't vote. So first of all, people don't vote hard. Second of all, even if you think it doesn't do anything, it's like going to a place one day every 2 years and filling out a fucking bubble card, like a Scantron test. It's like easy for the most part and simple. Just like suck it up go and give it a shot, even if it doesn't mean anything, which I don't, the jury's still out for me if it actually means anything or not, but I'm still going to go and try. Like we sit here for years complaining and trying to like oppose tyranny and do this. And like, what can I do? Well, and one of the little tiny things you can do is go give it a shot.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the way I look at it, right? It doesn't hurt to try. I don't really believe in the whole thing, and the jury's out for me, like I said, if it actually means anything or if it's good, but you can still give it a shot.
But, you know, I mean, voting for a Republican mayor in the state of New York is a joke, but you got to go out there and give it a shot. But what's more important is these are lower level seats, you know, House seats, local, state seats, local seats.
Those are, I'll be honest with you, those are even more important probably than the president to some extent. They affect your lives even more directly.
That's what my next point was going to be. Listen, you might not know politics, you know, at all, but you know your community. You suffer or you prosper in your own community. Baby steps, start small. You know what I mean? And that's why this midterm elections, you never heard people talking about midterm elections. The greatest thing Trump ever did was get people involved in politics, was wake people up the minimum to, holy shit, we need to pay attention to these people. And you never heard of anyone going out for the midterm elections. I think I maybe voted in what, 1 or 2 midterm elections my entire life.
Yeah.
So, but now people are like rallying together to go vote in the midterms. When you start changing where you live, things get better. At least you could have some of the laws and the rules you want in your own backyard. It might not happen nationally, but you got to take, that's, you know,
it's the idea of nullification too, right? Like where, all right, the country, you know, is trying to impose this crazy policy on all of us. But here in my town in rural Alabama, we said, no, we're going to make, you know, carrying guns legal everywhere. And now, like in practice, in reality, like, you know, what is there, like the military all over the place, or the FBI, the National Guard, going to like monitor what this little town's doing? No, they nullified, you know, the rules of the overarching, you know, like marijuana legalization, right? Like,
and you get to live happily. You get to live happily in your own backyard, at least, you know, because so much of America's problem is, oh, America's fine, we're well off, we need to help everyone, we need to help everyone. So nobody thinks locally, everybody's thinking nationally, coast to coast, we got to fix this, we got to fix this. Fix your own house first and things will get better from there. And just, you know, we were just talking about COVID and the vaccine, and how all your local officials, you know, and state representatives told you this will stop transmission. You need the passport to go to the Yankee game. You need the passport to go eat out at dinner. This is the only way we can move forward and be safe. And now they're asking you to reelect them so they could potentially do that to you again. If you didn't like that, this is your opportunity. Forget coast to coast. You could get the people in your own state who banned abortion, who, you know, legalized marijuana, who, whatever the little talking point that pissed you off, that made the changes in your state, here's the opportunity to rectify that.
Yeah, don't forget. Yeah, I agree. Like going into the midterms, your mentality should be like, I'm not going to forget the past 2 years, 4 years, whatever it is, these people,
which is hard for fucking Americans to do.
I guess so. And of course, right? Like if you should not, in my opinion, look, I'm biased, you should not forget what they did around COVID. They destroyed people's businesses. They destroyed people's lives. They forced people under coercion of losing their job if they didn't take a vaccine, right? So maybe some people took the vaccine that didn't want to, and some
how many people had a bad reaction. They got sick,
right? Yeah. Or maybe they had a bad reaction. Is it because of the vaccine? I don't know. Not a scientist, right? But like, remember who was behind that, who pushed that, or who was opposed to that, right? Yeah. And then you should go and vote against or for that person. Yeah. Based on whatever you feel, whatever. But yes, vote harder is the point. Yeah. Yes, give it a shot. It's not the end of the fucking world to spend 2 hours on a fucking Tuesday every 2 years.
2 hours. It's 5-10 minutes.
Bare minimum. Instead of fucking sitting here. I hate these nihilists or these, like they call them in the libertarian community, like the agorists. Like they don't participate in the process because we can't change it, so there's no point to even try. Well, yeah. You're really gonna fucking make a difference that way. But having that mentality, without a doubt.
But you know what? You know when they would start trying? When all the policies that they want start getting reversed. I don't want people carrying guns in my community. Your community just became constitutional carry. I don't want marijuana in my community. We just legalized marijuana. I want the right to choose. We just banned abortion. You know, when your side of the fence starts getting chipped away at, then you're ready to vote harder.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What triggers you?
Yeah.
I guess what triggers people to the polls.
So not a bad topic, right?
It's not. Yeah, it was interesting. I liked it.
All right. So, no, I'll get to that later.
I
where
can
am
see
I
you
going?
moving. I can see Captain moving around in the notes on the Google Doc.
Oh yeah, I have work people texting me too, which is throwing me off. Let's go into. I'm excited for this. We'll do a little lighthearted in the middle, and then we'll get serious. I have a conspiracy theory that has Trump in the center of it.
Lay it on.
So
Let's dive in.
Yes. So now I've had a bone to pick with the price of gas for all of Joe Biden's administration so far. Let's backtrack. President Trump wanted to refill the National Reserve. For context, for anybody who surprisingly doesn't know, and people don't know, the National Reserve is our oil reserve in case there's a war and oil gets cut off or there's any type of emergency that we're sending men and women to fight over there and we need energy and resources here. We have some saved for us.
Or so was the original promise. We covered this a couple episodes ago, if you remember. Yeah.
So Trump wanted to refill him and Congress tried blocking them. We ended up refilling them and having more than we've had in a very long time. And then Biden got into office and he lied to us all about the Green New Deal and all that good stuff. And we cut off pipelines. We started we won't take any oil from America. We started buying it from the most expensive places we could buy it from. And gas prices went up. But it wasn't Biden's fault. It was me and Russia, man. We sanctioned Russia, and Putin said now gas is $4.99, and in California, gas is $7.
Putin price hike, remember?
Yeah,
they called
the
it.
Putin price hike. So Biden had the great idea of this is an emergency. Let's empty the National Reserve to bring down gas. And they didn't even bring down gas to the price it was when Biden took office. But Americans are very forgetful creatures. So the new normal, it went from they were paying $7 and now they're paying $5. So thank you, Biden. Thank you, Daddy. We love you. We love you. Then all of a sudden, Biden went to Saudi Arabia and he was like, you need to produce more oil. And they said, get fucked, old man.
Well, first they agreed. So first he went there about 3 or 4 months ago, and first they agreed, okay, we'll play ball. But then this week, yes, they told him, listen, get fucked, buddy.
Yep.
And OPEC and Saudi Arabia, yes, they've now agreed to cut production.
2 million barrels a day.
Right. So when you cut production, again, there's the market doesn't give a shit about whatever denial of objective reality you leftists want to do. If there's less stuff, the price of stuff goes up.
Yes.
Right? That's the law of economics. So that's what Saudi Arabia and OPEC are doing. Yes.
So now this has happened, and now this is going to cause gas to go up. And now Biden had to come up with the Biden administration had to come up with a plan to bring down the price of gas, because otherwise the people of this country were going to use whatever money they had to buy gas and use that gas to burn the White House down. Okay. This was making Biden very unpopular, even more unpopular than he already was.
Yeah, gas prices historically always get people's attention and and like motivate people to vote, or like it always falls on the president. Gas prices,
because
for whatever reason.
Because minus the coastal elite who don't have cars in New York and LA, the majority of the country, whether you voted for Trump or you voted for Biden, has to drive their car to the pump and fill it up. And it affects you one way or another. And we always talk about how people keep their head in the sand until it affects them, and then they start crying about it. So now here we are. Gas is going back up. Saudi Arabia and OPEC said to Biden, get fucked. And it's all right before the November election. Who was the hero in Saudi Arabia that got the big sword dance, that got the red carpet rolled out for him? Mr. President Donald J. Trump, whose son-in-law didn't his son-in-law get a job in some oil company in Saudi Arabia?
I think so. Yes, I think
we talked
covered
about
that,
this.
yes.
I don't remember the kid's name, but we talked
Jared
about this
Kushner,
briefly,
Kushner?
and we compared it to how, oh, it's, we're not okay with Hunter Biden having these business dealings, but we're okay with Trump's son-in-law having these business dealings.
Yeah. So yes, back in April, before giving billions to Jared Kushner, so like they have definitely, the Saudis have some sort of relationship with Jared Kushner.
Yes. So I 100% believe that Trump orchestrated this
from behind the scenes.
Yes,
like with the
to
Saudis?
some extent. He was like, "You're my boys. Fuck this old dude." Right before the midterm elections, gas gets sky high, and that's how you get a red wave. Because it's funny, there's stickers. So for a while there was the "I did that" Joe Biden sticker, and it's always amazing to see people rip those off because you're mad that your president did do this and you voted for him, but you're still paying excess amount of money at the pump, but you're going to get pissed off and rip the sticker. But now there's a Trump sticker with a little QR code that says, "I can fix that." And when you scan it, you can register as a Republican in your state.
That's fucking brilliant, actually.
Yes.
I have to say, yeah.
Yes. So
the Libertarian Party should take note of something like that, perhaps.
I 100% believe the conspiracy theory that Trump is working with the Saudis on fucking Biden before the midterm at the pump.
It's a great conspiracy theory, I have to say. Did you come up with that all by yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It's plausible. I don't think that's probably the case, but I could see why it could be. I think that the Saudis just want to make money, and they see where policy and things are going. I've heard a lot of another one of the reasons why the price of gas is going up so high is because of the way the Green New Deal and all these things, and like how they're very hostile now towards the gas, the oil industry. Now, in order to start a drilling operation, bro, I don't know if you ever looked into that. That's fucking years of planning.
Why would I? Yeah.
And it's years of planning, investment, building machinery. Like, imagine building one of those oil rigs out in the ocean. That doesn't just happen overnight. So now, if in 10 years, and if it takes you 10 years to set one of those operations up, and in 10 years, like they're going to outlaw, gasoline cars, you're not going to invest in it, right? That affects the speculation, the price of oil. So one of the things I've heard is the Saudis are like, well, we better make our money now because they're going to look to fucking try and force oil off the market in the future. And honestly, get fucked, Joe Biden. They don't really give a shit or have a good agreement with him. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Definitely.
Look, I agree with you that Saudi as a business entity is like, okay, shit, if we make our money now, this is our best bet. This is the last ride.
Something else.
Right. But to do it before the midterm, that was planned. That was planned.
Well, yes, it was planned even from Joe Biden's angle. He went there and begged them for, to produce more oil to bring the gas prices down so that people wouldn't vote against the Democrats in November. Right?
And
it's so yes, you're right. At least like the first action is almost a quid pro quo too thing, right? Also with Biden and Saudi Arabia, similar to what Trump did with Ukraine. Like, hey, you better do this, or so that it benefits me in some way. Not to the same extent. I actually even made the point. I'm like, shit, I wish at least Biden would have said, hey, I'm not going to give you any more weapons that you can't use against Yemen. Right. Because
funny you say that.
Right. Like, I wish he would have at least done that. Like, we could have at least he should have withheld some weapons from them so they can't go blow up all these poor people in Yemen anymore. But he didn't even do that. So they can't even do corruption good.
No, you're not wrong yet. You're not wrong. So 2 comments. One, the funny thing to fix this problem, if I was Joe Biden, I would just open up the Keystone pipelines. I'd open up the American pipelines, and it would bring down the cost of gas. And yes, part of your base is going to be upset. And I'd maybe do it after the election because that would disrupt the election. But Americans are forgetful. So if you quietly open up these pipelines after the election, you'll piss off a few people, but the price of gas will come down. And when you're going up to get reelected, because this guy's dumb enough to do that, okay, even though there's talks of Hillary running again, which is fucking pathetic, but you know, the party is what it is. This is the greatest they could come up with. People would forget by the time 2024 comes around that you reopen the pipelines. You know, people are forgetting that our officials locked us in our homes and fired us from our jobs if you didn't get vaccinated. So yeah, if you quietly open up a pipeline, they're not going to remember. Second comment, you were talking about stopping weapons and shit going from to Saudi Arabia and shit, right? So I was listening on, I drive so many different cars at work. There's so many different radio stations. So I don't know what the station was, but I come across a lot of good political stations. And they were talking about how Congress has been drafting up several different types of bills to punish and to punish OPEC and the Saudis. So and I love it because one of them actually said that they were maybe talking about, you know, nerfing the weapons shipments to Saudi Arabia in punishment for siding with Russia and not giving us our oil. And this is the most American badass thing you could do. Saudi Arabia is their own business entity, and they make product A, and they sell product A to America. And all of a sudden, the Saudi Arabian business goes, you know what, we're not going to make as much product A, and we're going to raise the price on product A. And now, as a business, if I was making sneakers and distributing and selling sneakers, you liked them, you were paying $100 a pair for them. Now all of a sudden, you cut it in half, and you got to pay $500 for your sneakers. In a real world situation, you either stop buying my sneakers, or you wait longer to get the rare pairs, and you pay the $500. No, America gets together and is like, how are we going to sanction Saudi Arabia? How are we going to punish OPEC for changing up their business model? Fucking wild stuff.
Yeah, it's mafia like shit. It really is. And you know, like the United States government is the largest mafia that's ever existed. You know,
my other Rudy Giuliani conspiracy is after he took down the mob just handed off all their fucking organizations to whoever city was in charge in the city. Yeah, and like any mafia, you know, they have the ultimate fallback. Well, we got the guns, right? And we got the most, we got the best, we got the biggest. So like, you know, push too hard and do things you don't like, we'll fucking overthrow your government, like they just did in Pakistan, like they did in Ukraine, like they did in 7 countries after 9/11. You know, so at the end of the day, that's ultimately like the name of the game. We were kind of talking about Saudi Arabia and Yemen real quick. So actually something sparked my mind that I remember. Everybody should go to a website called 1-833-STOP-WAR.com. This website will actually make it as easy as possible for you to call your congressperson and tell them to stop the war in Yemen, which we could easily do by stop giving Saudi Arabia weapons and whatnot. Tells you exactly, well, you know what, now we have it even spells out exactly what you should tell your congressperson or whatnot, like right there. With as little thought as possible, it will help you to do something actually good. Maybe on the YouTube page we'll share a link underneath. Yeah, I'll put it underneath. Scott Horton's really pushing this. The Libertarian Party's trying to push this, actually try and like. But you know what, then, you know, now Biden could do the right thing and stop the war in Yemen because he has playing chips. You know, we'll stop. Right. You give us oil. Well, you know, you want to keep killing everyone in Yemen. All right, give us those $2 million barrels a day. That was my point before. Like, he won't even do that. Yeah. Like, so like nothing good ever comes of the establishment. Like, yeah, you know, do some corrupt shit and stop giving them weapons. So they stop blowing up Yemen. Yeah, that would at least be some sort of positive, but they can't even do that. No, because there's, at the end of the day, they probably make more money in military contracts in blowing up shit in Yemen than they do by getting oil from Saudi Arabia. There's multiple different business deals. So what else you want to go into, man? We're getting near the end here. So I think it's important, and I hope our listeners are still here, because this is something truly important for our actual fucking livelihood. Yeah. We really, whether it's propaganda or not, we're in a second Cold War. It is a ticking time bomb between Russia, Ukraine, NATO, America. China will probably aid Russia. I mean, and people do not know about this. They know nothing about. I've come across 3 people that have no clue that Russia has said they are ready, that Putin has said nukes are on the table, have no clue that all of President Zelensky's demands will plunge us right into World War III. And World War III is most likely going to kick off by sending nukes.
Right. By, Russia using a nuke or something like that. So, like a recent development is, again, is this propaganda? Are the Russians bluffing? I don't know. But I think when it comes to nuclear stuff, we shouldn't be really even entertaining the thought of this. But they've said that they're starting to deploy into the war zone, or at least into the area, tactical nuclear weapons, which are smaller ones. They're not the gigantic ones that go into space and blow everything up. But the Russians are saying that, and I don't think we even use these sorts anymore. You ever seen the videos, Cap, of the old school, they had
in Nevada, where they blow the houses and shit?
Yeah, and they'd shoot them off a Jeep, and shoot them 10 miles away, shit like that. I think is what the Russians are talking about, that they're kind of positioning possibly to be used. Are they really going to use them? But yeah, that could fucking spark. But the apocalypse.
This is the.
I was telling you too, dude. I was telling you too. I don't think. Our generation and people around, if you were alive during the actual Cold War, people understood, I guess, the threat of actual nuclear war and nuclear weapons. That shit was everywhere. It was you had drills in school. We weren't really around that time, and you had that fear always. But at least you had that understanding of what a dire situation nuclear war is. I don't think, because of the Soviet Union fell right around when I was born, our generation wasn't raised with that threat. No. So it doesn't maybe have that same understanding.
Yeah. If you look in the history books, if you look at video games, if you look at anything war related, I have a younger cousin of me who is a huge military buff. And he will tell you all you want to know. And he's much younger than me. He's probably 8 to 10 years younger than me. He will tell you everything you need to know about World War II, tell you everything you need to know about World War I, tell you everything you need to know about Korea, tell you everything you need to know about Vietnam. How much time did we spend in school on the Cold War?
I remember
it wasn't
some,
actually
but not as much. Yeah.
It wasn't actually, and it wasn't actually this gun battle war that was televised like Vietnam was. There was no guerrilla warfare really taking place. Look at every video game that comes out. How many times have we fought, on the beaches in Normandy?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, it was an indirect war.
Exactly.
We never directly fought Russia. We fought proxy wars, which we're doing again right now.
Yes. Look at the comparison. We are willing to spend more money on sending military equipment to Ukraine than Russia spends on its fucking military.
Right.
And everything that Putin said will kick this war into high gear if Ukraine joins NATO. What does President Zelensky say? We need to have Ukraine join NATO now. Yeah. And it's insane to think that the entire world, because if just one nuke goes off, and I know we're talking tactical nukes, it's going to change everything. This isn't going to be, where we're drone striking Taliban leaders. This isn't going to be the Marines going door to door in Afghanistan. This is going to fucking change everything. North Korea is going to be ready. China is going to be ready. Any fucking nation that has nukes, armed and ready. There's talks of that Russian submarine with the doomsday device. Could be anywhere. It's not in the harbor anymore. It could be off the coast of Montauk right now. I'm sure it's not, but
I don't think we ever want to get into a situation where you're right now. One gets used, and now they see okay, what's the response going to be? We didn't use the big ones. We didn't nuke every city in the plant in America, right? We just used one on a battlefield. We got away with it.
Yeah,
let's use another one, right? And then you're right now. Kim Jong-un's fuck it. I'm going to use one.
Hawaii,
right?
goodbye.
And
Yeah.
now because they start using a whole bunch of little ones tactically, now we're like, oh shit, now we got to do something. And now
Yeah.
we start launching some back at them. You see how like this could spiral?
So
out of
now,
control?
so now what happens next? Is this the new normal for war?
Right.
Because
The use
let's
of
be
nuclear weapons gets
yeah,
normalized.
because let's
right.
be honest, for all the people, I'm sorry, and YouTube, I don't care like how you feel about this.
This
if
is
you
a safe
support,
topic, I think, at least.
yeah, I think so too. If anybody supports Ukraine, I get supporting the people of Ukraine and not wanting anything to happen to the people of Ukraine. But if you're supporting Ukraine right now and you're supporting continuous military aid to Ukraine and you support this proxy war, you are not only pro-war all of a sudden, you've been tricked into being pro-war because 4 years ago you were not pro-war. Okay. You are directly in favor of World War III starting, and that is going to change everything. And if you look at Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset, what's one of the things he needs? A big old war.
Yeah, population control. I mean, look, man, if tactical nukes start getting exchanged in Ukraine, who's going to die? Ukrainians.
Yeah.
And so if you're on the side of the Ukrainians, I don't think it's good to have them incinerated in nuclear fire. I think what I was going to say before is I don't think a lot of people even understand the concept of
they
nuclear
don't.
weapons. I even
They
saw
don't.
some flat earth fucking conspiracy the other day about how nukes are fake. And I was telling you about how that's like, look, I don't mind the flat earth stuff and it's funny and it's interesting. But that's when shit starts getting dangerous now where we start saying like, oh yeah, these things don't exist. They're not real. No, they're real. Right.
Yeah.
And
what are they testing then?
There's enough nukes between just America. America has enough nukes to destroy the entire planet, right?
Yeah.
Now, Russia has even more. Other countries have some, not as many, but the two countries have enough to destroy the planet like 10 times over.
And
right.
You know,
and I mean, that's like Armageddon. You want to talk about this is the point I always come back to on this. Like, you want to talk about climate change. That's the most, like, the most biggest existential threat to human life. Climate change on the grandest scale is nuclear war. You'll change the climate of the earth overnight into an uninhabitable fucking volcanic rock where only probably cockroaches could survive. But I don't see AOC or Tlaib or Bernie Sanders even, or Joe Biden, who's out there all the time talking about climate change, saying, hey, we need the most important thing we should do right now is try and make a peace deal to avoid nuclear war, because nuclear war would be the fastest way to change the climate on planet Earth. That conversation, that has never been said, ever.
And it's never gonna.
You know who did actually say, maybe not the climate change aspect of it, but something to that extent? The other night, Donald J. Trump on his rally was even there's a lot of stupid people out there. Like he was saying in his rally now, like, there's a possibility of nuclear war. He was even saying he doesn't think people understand the power of nuclear and that we have to try and like negotiate peace. Donald Trump is out there saying we should try and negotiate peace. But Bernie Sanders is not, for some reason. Fucking chew on that. I mean, that's just bizarre.
It is. Yeah. It is. And it leads into the Trump derangement syndrome. He wants peace, so we need war. Just oppose to
the apocalypse.
Yeah, even if it means the end of the world. And to broaden what you were saying, like, America has enough nukes to bring on Armageddon. Russia has enough nukes. We're not talking about what happened in Japan in World War II. We're literally talking about the Earth turning into space dust, chunks of the Earth falling off the planet and drifting away into space, making the planet completely uninhabitable. All
for life. Right?
Yeah. All of you want reparations for slavery. You want to save the coral reef. You want to save the fish. You want to save the rainforest. You're worried about global warming, climate change, all of your environmental shit lib things that you go to battle for. It's all gone. It's all gone. You're fighting over the wrong thing. It's the uneducation of people, like I've been saying from when we first started this podcast. And most Americans don't even know that we are this close to it.
Yeah.
We are. They will sit there and argue with you that Ukraine needs to join NATO because on paper, NATO is going to protect Ukraine. Ukraine needs to be protected. That's what my TV told me. But that is going to cause way more problems than you fucking imagine. It goes back to the gun debate. Oh, ban all our guns. Come and collect all our guns. The government's not going to do anything bad. And then when you're on that train, going to the camp, but you're like, oh, but I was in favor of this. Doesn't matter. Turn to the wall. Goodbye.
Turn face the wall. If it just saves one life, you should get vaccinated.
That's please.
Yes,
Can we
that's
talk
what
about
you were missing?
that?
I thought I was giving you a chance to say it.
I'm
right? Yes.
sorry. You're right.
The same
I
people
forgot about that.
We started off this podcast talking about the vaccine, and they were telling you back then, if it just saves one life, it's the right thing to do. Now, those very same people are advocating for incinerating human life and all life on planet Earth for soil in Ukraine. Right? That's the same people. It's bizarre.
Let's not even say
you should be able
soil.
to tell people like that. If you're listening to this, you should be able to take that and use that as a red pill to someone. That doesn't make any sense. It's one of those things that doesn't. If you were so concerned about one or two people dying from COVID, but then you're out here, fucking dancing with the possibility of nuclear war. Again, I don't know what the answer is. That's what's going to solve the war in Ukraine or even fix it. But there's been no effort of negotiation or peace. I'm not even saying that, maybe Putin is bluffing, right? Maybe he's trying to use this as leverage to get what he wants. Maybe. The thing is, how can we really know? Because we haven't even, you have to sit down at a table and hash it out. And maybe you can't even come up with a good solution or a good amicable, resolution to the war. Maybe you go and you sit down there and you say, listen, Vlad, what do you want? Listen, Zelensky, what do you want? And they can't agree, but at least you'll know now, what is it exactly we want? Where is the border going to be drawn? What do you want, Ukraine? It has not even happened once. And not only has that not happened, everything has pointed to, and there's been stuff coming out the past couple of weeks that not only has that not happened, but the West, the United States, NATO, Zelensky, they're against the idea of even negotiating.
Yeah,
they're
want
not even
this fight.
The Russians are for it. Lavrov, who's their top diplomat, he's like, we're open to negotiation. And that's the way Russians have historically always been. I think I've said that before. They're open to, in the midst of war, they'll be marching down the streets, but they'll be like, look, we'll negotiate at the same time if you want. While bullets will be flying overhead at the table, but they'll sit down and talk to you and be like, what is it you want? Historically, they've always done that. Go and hear them out. Fuck. What's let's hash it out. Why
this is the
annihilation?
We don't negotiate with terrorists all over again.
I guess so.
What a tagline that was to give Bush free reign from going to the Middle East and killing whoever he wants.
Yeah. If you if you
but
question
this
that,
time
you were a fucking terrorist.
Yeah. This time it's different because, like I said, when nukes start flying, everything changes. And we're not, it's just not going to be one life that's going to disappear. It's going to be many lives.
It can be all.
Won't matter if you're vaccinated or not. And I could see Hochul on TV. In the case of nuclear fallout, the first thing you want to do is get your boosters.
Yes, definitely. Just like in the hurricane. So I think let's wrap it up with our tweets of the week.
Yes, sir.
We got a full slate here.
I think I got 2, right?
Okay. You do. Yes. Do you have 2? You got 2. Let's start off with one of yours.
All right. John Cooper. Who else thinks if we get President Biden 2 more senators, he'll go down in history as the best president America ever had? Thank you for just becoming the tweet of the week.
That's funny.
Are you kidding me? I get it. You're towing the line and it's an election cycle and I understand it. But I mean, what has he done to begin with to be considered a good president? What is he going to do with 2 more senators?
What are you talking about, man? Inflation at record high, gas prices at record high,
housing market's going to collapse,
excess mortalities at record high, possibility of Armageddon right around the corner. What are you talking about?
But the difference to fixing all that is 2 more senators.
That's it. Just 2 more. 2 senators to stop the curve or whatever. Yeah. All right. Let's see. We did the first one. So let's go to Spike Cohen. Spike Cohen, in my opinion, had the tweet of the week. And we'll go back to Columbus Day. Spike Cohen said, in 1892, after a brutal lynching and mass murder of Italian Americans in New Orleans, President Harrison declared a one-time national celebration of Italian heritage, hoping to placate Italian Americans and repair relations with Italy. They called it Columbus Day. 50 years later, during World War II, FDR labeled Italian Americans enemy aliens and interned them. To quell outrage over their treatment, FDR reversed his decision and declared Columbus Day a national holiday. The purpose of making Columbus Day an official holiday was to virtue signal to a marginalized population, Italians, while continuing to marginalize them. Renaming it Indigenous Peoples Day does the exact same thing. The fact that Republican and Democrat politicians and corporate media want you arguing with each other over whether today is Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, instead of talking about the harm they're doing, tells you everything you need to know about their motivations. You can't call it Indigenous Peoples Day to focus on the struggles and achievements of natives. They'll say you want to erase American history. You can't call it Columbus Day to celebrate your Italian heritage. They'll say you want to celebrate genocide. The hyperbole is the point. They want us at each other's throats, so we don't focus on what they do to all of us. If they actually wanted to help people, they would end crushing inflationary policies that drive people into poverty and destroy their ability to save and invest. Spike Cohen keeps going on here, which the rest of it is great. You should read it. I don't read too much, but it's a great tweet. I think it's the tweet of the week by Spike Cohen. Something I didn't even know about. Shame on us Italians for not knowing the history of that. But it really is interesting, right? Because like this is something that happens every year, like we said at the beginning of this podcast. This debate, this thing that divides people about Columbus Day.
Yep.
Who could fix it? Who participates in it? The government, right? If they really wanted to, they could change it. They could officially erase the name Columbus Day and make it Indigenous Peoples Day, or vice versa for whatever reason. But they don't.
Or they could just get rid of it altogether.
They've endorsed a two-state solution to Columbus Day. Now it's both days. So now every year, for the rest of time, there's going to be a divisive fight, at least guaranteed. Book it every year on Columbus Day. But they could change that, but they won't, right? I think that's a great fucking point. I think that's something people should really think about.
It doesn't stop there. Then it goes to Halloween, and children can't wear costumes that are cultural appropriate. Then it goes to Christmas. Don't say Merry Christmas. It doesn't fucking end.
And look, like in order to fix it, it's not like we have to build a pipeline or send a rocket ship to the moon. We just say that we're going to call it a different thing officially. Yeah. And that would fix, like, there's no like capital to invest.
Free Monday off.
Right, exactly. We're just going to call something a different thing. And that would ease people's tensions around it. So that's something to think about. Definitely. I thought that was a great point. Let's go over your second tweet of the week, Cap.
Yes.
God.
I don't know who this guy is.
Avert your eyes if you're a child watching this.
Yeah. Well, and then turn off your headphones. From now on, I identify as a white person. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. The voice of the forgotten. I don't know if he's anybody special on Twitter. I saw this image and I just took it from him. And he's a black guy, and he now identifies as a white person. And the image is of a white woman with colored hair and a tattoo on her back that says "Black Cock Only."
I don't got much for you here, buddy. I mean, this is the sort of
stuff
this
was attention grabbing, man.
This is the stuff that hides, gathers in the dark corners of the internet.
Dude, I mean, that is, I commend her for her virtue signaling. I really commend her.
Good for her. Yeah. But it's funny how from now on I identify as a white person. This guy is flipping just because of this. Yeah?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. What's my last one? Oh, yeah. You're going to like this one. So this is an old tweet, but it still checks out in terms of a tweet of the week. You actually even saw my comment on this. I saw this through Facebook. So a little quick story here. I follow a page on Facebook called IFL Science.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And this page, I fucking love science. It's supposed to be a science page. And the past 2 years, it's obvious it's like a left-wing propaganda political page, really. So this page shared this. I went and found it on Twitter. So it happens to be from September 5th of 2021. but it still checks out, and it's just an interesting point and something me and you have kind of talked about before. This is Robert Spooky Roller Disco Raymond, and he says, damn, can you imagine being a human during the Paleolithic age, just eating salmon and berries and storytelling around campfires and stargazing? No jobs, no traffic, no ads, no poverty, no capitalism. Caused traumas, just pure vibes. Wow. This is something, Cap, you commented this, right? I mean, yes, definitely. My response to this was like, yeah, I'm sure in the Paleolithic era, they held hands and skipped around the campfire and sang Kumbaya as if they were camping on the weekend. Things were definitely so easy and so great without capitalism in the Paleolithic era. Definitely. The deer just jump straight into your campfire to cook themselves. Everything worked out imaginatively.
Didn't have to kill anything.
If only we could just get rid of capitalism. The deer would start jumping into campfires again.
Group of men didn't just show up at your camp and rape your wife, kill your children, steal all your belongings, burn your village to the ground. Back then, the only thing I disagree with other than the capitalist part is the no poverty. It was all poverty back then. Sure, no jobs, no traffic, no advertising. That sounds awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love to stargaze and eat salmon over an open fire and tell stories and not worry about my job or traffic or ads. But it was all poverty. I mean, and the most of the people who would agree with this and be like, yeah, fuck capitalism,
communists,
they wouldn't last 5 seconds in that era. I have to sleep on the floor. There's bugs. My iPhone doesn't work.
Food just doesn't appear on a shelf somewhere. Where does it come from? How do I get it? I have to eat an animal? What do you mean?
I'm not killing an animal.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
This is more of just people living in just some sort of fantasy fucking world. They don't understand what it really takes. Like, you'll have
denying reality.
People die. People get like back then would get like a scrape on their foot and die of like sepsis. Just like that. Just out of nowhere. Like, hey, tomorrow, what happened to Cap? Died yesterday. Why? Got a cut on his foot.
Drank water from a puddle and shat out his guts.
Shat his entire insides out. Yes.
It's like Zach, the unfit statesman, said last week. We've reached a point where we're just too comfortable. We're so comfortable. We don't see it anymore. I think Joe Rogan, I saw it in a clip. He was talking, the good men bring good times, strong men bring good times and stuff like that. And he's like, times are so good that like we're actually actively trying to get rid of the strong men.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what's going on to a certain aspect. Yeah. Well, they'll find out soon enough because when they return us to the Paleolithic age.
And that's why I laugh. And I said it the other day. It's people like us, and I don't even consider us, like we're going to be these trendsetters or anything, but like in the future, man, it's going to be people like us raising children in a different way to bring upon stronger people. We're going to need strong, the strong men of our generation and Gen Z and all that, where we're going to need to pick out the strong people.
Yeah. Final point, as fucked up and as crazy as like, the world is, the clown world that we live in is right now, it's great compared to the Paleolithic era. You better thank capitalism for making it so easy and great. And we could sit here on fucking cameras and microphones and complain about it, right? Because right now, you're right. We could be shitting our fucking brains out and dying because we drank a dirty fucking puddle of water or something like that. So I think that's a great place to end it.
There we go. All right, Doom Nation, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Catch us next week. What do we have coming down the pipeline? Anything special? Other than we talked about the reviews.
She-Hulk review. We are working on the Halloween special, which is going to be very funny. We're working on that, trying to get a couple of guests. Me and Captain got our costumes picked out. Keep that as a surprise for the Halloween special. We got to review the cigars at some point. Definitely.
Yes, we're going to try and get Alan from the Great Divide podcast to come on with us and do that with us. So we got some things in store for you guys. So Doom Nation, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Get out there and vote. Peace out.